Welcome to E-commerce with Coffee, a podcast powered by Amber Engine, where we share e-com secrets for brands over your favorite brew. We start with the caffeine and then leap enthusiastically into behind-the-scenes e-com insights that led to the success of our guests. I'm Nate Svoboda, and I'm about to serve you up the best. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of E-commerce with Coffee. In this conversation, I have the pleasure of speaking with Priscilla Carrick. She's the Executive Director of Operations at AutoExec, which provides mobile desks for professionals who find themselves driving constantly and or working from their cars or the road out of their vehicle. So she's been an Amber Engine client since September of 2020. And today, we're really going to be chatting about her experience with Amber Engine's team and our Next-Gen PIM to really see what benefits the AutoExec team has experienced thus far. So Priscilla, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Really looking forward to the conversation. But before we dive into it, I know you're a busy person. I imagine caffeine's got to play a role in your life. Would that be fair to say?
Very much so. Absolutely.
Are you like a 1 to 2 cups a day kind of person, or do you have a little bit more of a more of a caffeine addiction than some?
Probably. I think this is cup number 4.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, I just keep drinking the coffee until I feel like I'm where I need to be.
Is
So that's usually anywhere between like 2 and 5, and then maybe an afternoon cup if I'm feeling
you got to
sluggish.
get past the 3 p.m. slump, right? 100%.
Yes.
Do you brew
Yes.
it in a pot, or do you use a Keurig, or how do you make it?
I am an auto drip. I do love cold brew when it's hot out, but I haven't taken it upon myself to learn that process yet. So I'm usually just an auto drip, set the alarm the night before because when I wake up, I need coffee in hand. I can't even be bothered to make it. I just need to go down, pour, and sip.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, hey, if you like cold brew, I know some people don't really like cold coffee. I don't really understand that personally. I'll send you a really cool way to make it. It's super easy, and I definitely recommend it.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. Thank you.
Well, I guess let's just kind of dive into it. Before we get into your experience starting to work with Amber Engine, can you paint the picture for us of what was life like at AutoExec before you all started looking into product information management?
Yeah, it was basically myself and an eternal hell of spreadsheets. That is basically we would get a new reseller, we would onboard new products, and it was just spreadsheets coming at me left and right. I would get one finished, there'd be another one waiting, and it was just this constant rinse and repeat. We are a small company, so at that time it was just myself in the office doing all of this, and it just became unmanageable with how quickly we were trying to grow. I mean, we had a lot of online resellers, larger name resellers, and the bigger the reseller, the more templates, the more complicated they were getting, and it was just becoming, I was spending way too much time just in spreadsheets, and I do operations for the company, so there's a lot of different hats I wear, and it was just taking up most of my time doing data entry.
Yeah, and I know when businesses look into solutions to manage their product data, they're generally looking to get to market faster. They're generally looking to increase their team's ability to collaborate, especially with distributed workforces nowadays. What would you say was the main draw of the solution for you all in your evaluation?
Gosh, I remember, like, I didn't even know what a PIM was, and then I'd randomly get these emails. I thought there has to be a better way, and then I'd randomly get these emails, and I remember talking to another company and then getting the Amber Engine email, and I said, okay, I need to start looking into this because this sounds amazing. And I think the big draw for me was just seeing that we could like turn these spreadsheets around faster, save a ton of time, get to market faster. Like right now we're dealing with a price increase, we're discontinuing SKUs, adding new SKUs, and onboarding a reseller all at the same time. And I feel like without having the PIM, I wouldn't even know where to begin. So.
And so just gut take, how do you feel, we're about 2 years or so into the partnership, how do you feel like the solution has matched up to that draw you initially felt?
I feel like it's been fantastic. The team has been great. I'm still, I'd say the one area that I struggle with is probably on our end is just understanding it and using it to its full potential. Um, Instead of just saying, hey guys, can you help us with this? We're trying to learn how to do it ourselves so that we can map everything and turn these templates around just by ourselves with our team. So I think that's the one struggle we have. But overall, I mean, just being able to have all of our data there in one organized, center, and being able to see it all, organize it all. We have so many different resellers that require different data, and being able to export that quickly saves us probably weeks, if not months.
And that's significant. That's significant.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
so thinking about, the software itself, but also the customer success team, which we're very proud of here at Amber Engine, how would you describe the implementation process in your experience going through it?
The implementation process was fine. The Amber Engine team was extremely helpful, very supportive. We kind of handed them all of our puzzle pieces, and they put it together for us and helped us understand how it works. And then it's evolved, and it just keeps getting better. Glitches, keep getting worked out. They keep adding more features. So it's like the longer we go, the more fine-tuned the Amber Engine gets. And so I'm excited. We're really, like I said, testing it out right now, juggling so many different things at once. It'll be a good test for us to see where we're at.
Yeah.
But the implementation process went very smoothly.
And a lot of times, depending on the tool someone can use, it can take 3, 6, 9, 12 months to get onboarded with a solution. I'm curious, how long did it take for you to feel as though you were fully onboarded? And by that, I mean you were able to start using the tool in the way you'd intended to when you initially began the partnership.
Oh gosh, definitely probably within the first 6 months. If not sooner. I mean, I think we had, I can't remember which reseller it was, but we had a few that we were in the process of adding. We went from 53 SKUs when I first started. We now have over 1,300. And so we were constantly just adding new product. And so I think right away from the beginning, I recall just always having something to work on, always onboarding new SKUs. And so it was pretty quickly.
And were there any specific features within the tool that you particularly enjoyed learning about or seeing for the first time?
The images, being able to map and link the images, that was always a huge time suck for us in the beginning, because you'd have the basic data for each SKU, but then when you had the content forms, it became really cumbersome having to map all those images. And so for me, the image link feature was probably the biggest help.
And was there anything, thinking about, there are a lot of things within Amber Engine's PIM. There are a lot of features and tools. What would you say was maybe one of the more difficult features to learn?
I would say probably trying to map and export the data for each particular reseller. I think is still where we get caught up sometimes. The idea of it is simple, going in there, and especially when our resellers change their data sets and add stuff, and maybe it doesn't exist in there, so now we have to go in and add all this data before we can export it. I'd say that is probably the biggest thing that we're still getting used to.
And in total, I know that you said there were a number of resellers that, some were easier than others to work with. How many total digital channels are you currently selling on? And by that, I mean, marketplaces, if you transact through your own website, if the retailers that you sell through, particularly want information for their site. How many would you approximate?
I'd say at least 12.
And has that number changed since you began working with Amber Engine?
Yeah, we've probably added at least 4 to 5 resellers, all big players. Since onboarding with Amber Engine, we're working on a big one right now, working with Tractor Supply. We're very excited about that. So Yeah, I think it was at least 4 new large resellers.
Wow. And thinking about, ensuring data quality for the organization, right? Whether that's completeness of the data, consistency across the catalog, accuracy of the content, what standards do you currently have in place to ensure that data quality?
Basically, just our team is basically always checking. If we have a downtime, we're always constantly going in and checking the data that's there. And within the PIM, it's gotten easier to do because we can bulk edit, we can look at families in a snapshot. So I know Amanda on our team had been doing a lot of that this year. While we were waiting for the price increase and waiting to onboard, she went in a lot and did a lot of just putting eyes on things and making sure, fine tuning and tweaking the data that's in there. So we kind of do that ourselves.
And so you said she leverages the scoring feature.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep, the scoring feature. So yeah, and that makes it easy because if it's not at 100, you know right away that you need to go in and fix something if there's a missing element there.
Right. It's easy to find where those holes and gaps are, like where the problem children are that you need to go address, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to recommend this product, Amber Engine's Next-Gen PIM, to a really good friend, and you were just going to be totally frank with them about it, what would you say are the solution's top benefits?
Oh, the top benefit is it's going to save you time, which is going to save you money. That's number one. People get burned out on these spreadsheets. Like I said, we're small. We don't have a department that's just dedicated to one reseller or channel or dedicated to just doing one job. We're all very busy wearing many different hats. So number one, it saves us time, which saves us money. Number two, we get our products to market faster. We can create more products. We can, get bigger billboards, getting on more channels, and get more eyes on our products. In particular, I think of one of our resellers, AutoZone. When we loaded, it was just top sellers, basically. I think we loaded 119 SKUs. And the sales were just not there. So one of Amanda's projects was to basically add the rest of our catalog. We saw an increase in sales of over 1,000% once we added our full catalog because the way our products are, the customer is basically customizing their desk when they order it. We're very niche, so just having a top sellers doesn't really work for us. You need to have all the options there, and that was just, and her being able to do that in a shorter time frame because of the PIM was very helpful.
And how many total, and I'm sure that number may have changed between now and then perhaps, how many total SKUs does AutoExec sell or offer?
So now they've got over 900.
Oh, wow.
So, and we're about to load, we're approaching that 1,300 as we do our new product load. So,
wow, that is a lot. That's significant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so thinking then about that, that you're having that same conversation with your friend. Apparently you talked to your friend about product data management solutions. I won't judge you for that. What are maybe some of the cautions or drawbacks that you would give them? And we're just being totally frank about it.
Yeah, I'd say I still don't think it works as smoothly as it could or as quickly as it could, or I would like it to. Like in theory, we get a template, we load it in, we export it. It's still not that easy. And again, like what we're working with now, we've got probably hit with, I don't know, a half a dozen or more cost change worksheets. We're working on discontinuing stuff. We're working on adding stuff. With each one being different, it takes time to make sure it's being done properly, to make sure that we understand it. And again, that's our team learning the PIM well enough to do this on our own and really utilize its full potential. So I'd say that's the biggest hurdle. It can be frustrating at times, especially when they're requesting data, for example, maybe product descriptions that don't include color. That's one that comes to mind. So we have to go in and actually create a new data set to meet that. And so there's still some things in there. And it's not necessarily the PIM. I think it's just the nature of the resellers all wanting data in different formats, right? So it's a little frustrating that we have to go in and do all of that before. Instead, I'd just like to be like, okay, we're gonna import this, and boom, we're gonna map it and export it. It still doesn't work that easily,
Right. It's like,
but it's still much better than trying to manually copy and paste and enter data for 1,300 SKUs.
yeah.
So I feel like we're getting there.
Or stare at two spreadsheets and try to figure out what the heck is different between the two of them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know you've mentioned Amanda a couple times. Is it primarily the two of you that are in PIM, or how many team members at AutoExec generally would you say
That's
log in?
it.
Just the two of
Yeah,
you? Oh, wow.
that's it. That's the two of us, yeah.
So it's significant for even being such a small team, right? I mean, there are companies that have teams of people that manage this stuff, and whether they have a tool or not to use it. But it's amazing to see that even with only two people at the organization, the onboarding still took us decently significant or not significant amount of time. It was lower than a lot of other solutions out there. And I mean, I'm glad to see that again, you guys have a ton of things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So it's amazing that you were still able to make the time to feel like you're getting value out of the solution and it's doing what it really is meant to do for you.
Yeah, and again, your team, the Amber Engine team, has been amazing and super supportive, really helpful. Anytime there's questions, anytime we need anything, they're right there and always very helpful.
Well, we appreciate that. I think of all of the questions that I really would like to ask, the one I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but I'm curious to know your answer. Out of all of the things that PIM maybe doesn't do today, what is something that if it could do, you think would make a massive difference in how you use it today, or the work that you and Amanda do on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if it's possible, but if it was able to manipulate the data, like I said, if I was able to go, okay, I want to pull the color out of all these descriptions, I don't know if that's even a possibility, but if it was smart enough to be able to do that so a person didn't have to do that and then import that data, that would be helpful.
So almost like a find and extract kind of feature.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's something that I can easily bring to the product team. That's not something we've heard before, but someone's probably doing that in Excel today, and if we can get them out of the spreadsheet and into the system, then that's obviously a goal of ours. That's something we want to do.
Yep.
Well, Priscilla, I appreciate, all the candid answers that you've given to, just some basic questions we want to ask so that we're making sure the tool is providing the value to our customers and to our partners that we intend for it to. But, on a little more personal of a note, are there any books or movies or TV shows that you're particularly tuned into at this time?
Oh my goodness. Books, movies,
I know I didn't prep you for that one, so I'm definitely throwing you under the bus for this one.
No, you didn't. I just got a new book that was highly recommended to me called Breathe by James Nestor that I'm very excited about reading. It's all about our breath and breathing. As far as television shows, I just recently got over COVID, so I was down for a while watching a lot of television, not gonna lie. There's a true crime show called Blackbird on Apple TV. That's interesting. I like true crime stuff. Severance. I just finished the first season of that and thought it was very good. And then there's a quirky little show called The Resort on NBC. And that writer has done a lot of storylines about time travel and like quantum physics type stuff. So, yeah.
That is a wide swath of topics. I love that. I love that. I don't think there was a single relation between any of those items. I love it.
No, I like a little bit of everything. So, like I said, I like all genres. When it comes to music, books, and television shows and movies, I like a little bit of everything.
I love that. Well, I've heard of Severance. The other ones I'd not, but I'm going to have to go check out, I guess, NBC and Apple TV a little bit more because I'm a little too ingrained in Netflix, so I guess I need to broaden my horizons a little bit.
Yeah, I think they call it a Peacock is the NBC one. But
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, Priscilla, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time because I know how busy you are. And we really, really appreciate you, trusting us and working with us and being such a valuable partner.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Priscilla. That's it for this episode of E-commerce with Coffee, powered by Amber Engine. If you haven't gotten your fix yet, be sure to get more e-commerce brand secrets on our website at amberengine.com. And don't forget to subscribe for more episodes.